The NBA All-Star Game is coming up, All-Star Weekend in Utah, Salt Lake City. Have you ever been there, Alan? Salt Lake City?
Only the airport.
Oh, so you never, okay. Yeah, when I used to cover the NBA, I used to cover the games at the old Salt Palace. And the thing that was so strange, and I don't know, I haven't been there in a long time, but you couldn't go into a bar and buy alcohol.
No, see, that probably was one of the reasons why I've never been.
Yeah, you know what? You'd have to buy the alcohol at like a liquor store outside of the bar, bring it in with you, and then the bartender serves you the orange juice, the ice in the cup, or whatever you drink and mixing it with. That's the way it was. It was very weird, something I had never experienced. But there's a little controversy going on in Salt Lake City and in Utah because one of their all-time greats, Karl Malone, the third leading scorer in the history of the NBA, is coming out of hiding and is supposed to judge the slam dunk contest. Rob G., fill us in with what's going on because some people are not happy.
Yeah, you would think when you hear two-time MVP, third leading scorer in NBA history, Karl Malone is going to be a judge for the slam dunk contest, they'd be very excited. A lot of round of applause, right, in Salt Lake City. However, Karl Malone's legacy is, let's call it, complicated. Mostly because back in the day, way back in the day, before he even got to the NBA, he, as a 20-year-old college student, got a 13-year-old girl pregnant.
Was he 13 or 17 at the time? I think
he was 20 at the time.
20. Okay. Go ahead.
So that's at least that's the way the article reads here.
No. I think you had to be legal age of 17.
Yeah, the
right?
legal age of
consent
with consent at that time in Louisiana was 17. She was 13.
She was 13.
Gave
Alan.
birth to a son who ultimately became an NFL defensive end.
How unbelievable is that?
Excuse me, offensive lineman.
How unbelievable is that? And Alan, he had nothing to do with the kid. Like the kid wound up being, getting those good genes, I'm sure, from Karl Malone, became an NFL player.
I don't know if you remember, Rob, even in Detroit, he had a daughter. Cheryl Ford played, women's basketball in Detroit.
For the Shock.
Yeah, and for the longest time, didn't want to acknowledge that either.
No doubt.
Now, it must be noted that charges were never actually brought up against Karl Malone. Only eventually a paternity suit and child support payments, which he contested in court, and it was eventually resolved. So that's the big issue.
Alan Lee, here we go. Karl Malone was on the top 75 team. I was at the All-Star game last year. It was pomp and circumstance and Jordan and LeBron and all these great players they brought out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the All-Star game last year. The 75 best players in the history of the league. Karl Malone was on the list, was a no-show.
Because he didn't want all the heat.
Well, now it's in his backyard, and I guess he's agreed to do this. And Rob G brought it up. No charges were filed. It was civil, and he was 20, she was 13. A lot of people just cringe at those two numbers, Alan. Just a 13-year-old girl. But he's been in hiding, I don't know, out of the public. Have you heard of Karl Malone lately? Like nothing.
Not a thing. Zero. Radio silence.
And now this. I'm surprised he accepted, but I'm more surprised that the NBA invited him.
And they really probably couldn't go to John Stockton because there's controversy surrounding him as well, and some of the comments that he's made or some of the things that he's put out there. He's
an anti, what's the right term?
Vaxxer.
Anti-vaxxer, and also not that it's one thing to just say you don't want to get the shot, right, Alan?
Right.
That's your business.
Right.
But you can't put out misinformation, and that's what you can't. When you're a public figure, you can't go around telling people stuff that's just not true. And that's the issue they have with John Stockton. But in this case, I think the NBA swung and missed.
Yeah,
this is too hot to handle. It just is. And he hasn't been around.
Right. You almost want to be in the room when that topic came up and someone, brought up, well, let's get Karl Malone. And if somebody didn't look around or give funny looks or get real quiet and go, are we sure about this one? Somebody had to have known what the past of this was. Like, he wasn't at like you said, he wasn't at the 75th, announcing the greatest players. He was absent from that, and I know we're in Utah, but do you guys know what the issue? I mean, somebody had to have said something. So somebody overruled all that and go, no, let's go with it.
And it just normally leagues get it right. You know what I mean? They really do, and say, you know what? We need you to stay away from this. We just can't. We can't have you a part of this.
Yeah, because Adam Silver usually comes down, even though he makes some decisions that sometimes aren't very popular with some people, he does make some decisions that err on the side of caution, or he does, the right thing. This one, it's a head shaker.
It doesn't feel good. It just doesn't. There's something that just doesn't feel right about it. And I'm not saying it's the same case, but we saw the R. Kelly case, right?
Right.
Can we see the R. Kelly case? And he's in jail. Now, Karl Malone's not in jail. He hasn't been convicted of anything, and we're not saying any of that. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what we're talking about. But it's about the league, and sometimes
it's about the optics. And when you're a corporation, sometimes even though nobody's done or been proven to do anything wrong, it still reflects badly upon you, and you're going to get a lot of heat for it.
100%. And that's the pushback that you get from people who I can't believe that he's sitting out here. Considering what we all know about him now, and maybe he was 20 years old, and this is a long time ago, but we do know. And normally it's just, we can't put you on a high visibility stage.
Right. I mean, I would have probably chosen Mark Eaton since, he's a good judge of dunk contests after Michael Jordan dunked over him one time.
And I get it. So Rob G, can you jump? Is John Stockton out too? Is he not? He's not a part of anything?
Not that I know of.
Now look at that. Well, that's strange though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They elected to obviously pass on Stockton, but
who was a big, long-time Jazz great. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Took, and I'm going to say took Isaiah Thomas's spot in the
well, Michael took that.
Well, you know what? Don't get me started on that, because you know who was the head coach of that team too, don't you? It was Chuck Daly.
Chuck Daly, right.
So
and
who should
Jack
have had
McCloskey
the ultimate,
was the general manager of the
So
Olympic
who should have had the ultimate say if Chuck really
well,
wanted
but
his guy
Michael,
on there?
If Michael says it, it's happening. Yeah, you know that.
I understand.
But this is a delicate situation, and you're right. I mean, this is a commissioner who, took Donald Sterling's team away in 5 minutes.
Right.
In 5 minutes. Did Donald Sterling break any laws? Alan, did he break any laws?
No, didn't break any laws whatsoever.
He wasn't put in handcuffs. He didn't do anything.
Optics that you don't want to be associated with for your league.
Absolutely. And that's what people got to understand. That's why this seems so strange that the NBA is in this spot when they could have easily, and I guess they just figured we can't come here, have the All-Star game, and not have any of their star players.
Right.
Not one.
Did
they pick the two of the is that how they decided it?
Right. It's similar to when people say, well, I don't understand why so-and-so got let go, with freedom of speech in this country. And no one's ever denied that. You can say what you want to say, but you're going to suffer the consequences sometimes of a corporation as to what you said.
People say that all the time, and that only protects you from, Alan, you ripping the president or the government and them not coming to your door and taking you out in shackles, okay? Right. If you work for a company, if you represent somebody, I represent Fox Sports Radio 24/7, not only the 3 hours I'm on the radio every day. If I were to do something crazy, there's not going to be any consequences?
Exactly. So, yeah, like I said, I understand it's in Utah, but I think you would have had to have gone down the list to avoid.
Mark Eden would have been a good choice,
right.
I think. I don't know unless do we need to check the police blotter? I don't even know. I'm asking.
There's Darren Williams. I mean, heck, Jeff Hornacek.
He's more of a son, isn't he?
Yeah, but he was a coach at Utah.
At Utah? Well. Yeah, it is crazy.